a large code base is crucial. It's actually a deciding factor of whether you are going to make the leap into a capable developer or not. You may say, what is the trick to make that jump? It's very simple. Go read the code. Okay? Reading code, not yours. Reading large code base is something you can train just like any other skill. You have to make a plan, make the effort to do that. Otherwise, it will not come directly to you. Okay? So ability to be able to determine the cause of failure of a large product, you give a bug report, you're lucky enough you got the input which actually help you reproduce the bug. Now the code base is 50,000 lines of code. The first thing you need to figure out is where is the root cause of that bug. Okay? Now you are basically looking at this 50,000 lines of code. You need to zoom into a few lines of code or a little bit more than that. Okay? What do you do? This is actually a major jump from a computer science graduate into a industry software programmer. If you can make this jump, okay, you are a useful soldier in the giant army of software engineering. Otherwise, you're not that useful. Okay? Also, the ability to function effectively without adequate documentation, which is a common thing. You only have code. I come back to our ability to read code. This is last resort you can go to if you don't have documentation. However, we do encourage you to write good documentation and maintain good documentation, because good documentation will cut down the time you need to spend reading this code significantly. You are writing that documentation as a professional courtesy to others who are going to use your code. Okay, if you don't provide good documentation, you have no expectation or no rights to demand others provide you good documentation. Then basically all of us pretty much have to work from code only. Then essentially, I'm wasting your time, you're wasting our time, we're wasting each other's life. Pretty much. Pretty much. Reading code takes a lot of time. A lot of time. So essentially, you are providing that documentation for you and also for others. All right? So you need a skill set basically in analysis, design, implementation, testing, basic requirement, design, high level and detailed design, implementation, validation. Okay? We had a very basic process. You need to be able to identify the functionalities, your unit, no matter it's a system, a subsystem, a module, or object, what features you need to provide. Our way of representing these features were use cases. You can use anything else which works with you and your team. Maybe user stories, sticky notes, items on a whiteboard, whatever works. You need to do that. With this list of features, you should be able to come up with the basic architecture, which are what set of classes I need to implement this set of features. Then be able to assign job responsibilities and functionalities to each object and module by defining their outside interface. Then provide the algorithm and pseudocode for each method in your class. Get them implemented in Java, tested with JUnit, putting up all the level of test cases, enumerating all the functionalities you designed for. Okay? Then the software is delivered. When somebody comes back with you with a defect or requirement change, doesn't modify your process at all. You do the same thing again to take care of the defect fix and the new requirement. Okay? You may got a great process working in the future, but one thing I can tell you is the simple and stupid process we have here always works. Just may not be the best, most efficient one. Okay? You may be a great runner in the future, but you got to be able to walk in the first place. Okay? So can you take care of half-page worth of requirement, turn that into code, which is basically what you have in your project. Being able to write documentation, your colleague can utilize without come back to you. This is how you function in a team. How we make sure we got reasonable quality software, unit testing, system level testing, all cast as regression tests. If we pass regression test suite every time, at least we can make sure all the features we tested in the previous version still hold in my current version. If you have enumerated all the requirements you listed in the first place, then you got pretty good, reasonable test suite. Okay? This is a very simple concept. I mean, only simple concept works. Complex ones, they don't. Okay? So the maintenance process essentially is a development process. Just that you need to deal with defects, defect reports, and you need to deal with new requirements, which are typically moving targets today anyway. Right? More likely than not, 85% of you guys, more likely to going to be working on Scrum environment, which is you actually work in a team working on features in terms of week, 2 weeks, or a little bit longer. Okay? Can be that we work on the same module, same features, or you actually switching feature every iteration. No matter what process you run, you need to do all these. Okay? Just that in Scrum, the new defect report, new requirement will be incorporated as requirement into the next sprint. If they happen to bubble up to the top of your burn down chart and backlog, okay, they will be taken care of first. For instance, if you have an urgent defect report, they will appear at the top of the backlog, right? Then they will be picked up first and get burned first, right? If you have a new important feature, they will be picked up first, get burned first. Then you got your defect and new requirement taken care of. Doesn't change your development process at all. Doesn't change your development process at all. Okay? This is how our engineering process now works. Okay? Don't over-complex your process this moment. Because I can guarantee you, you would have to adapt to an existing team when you get out. Okay? over complex your development process now, pretty much has no value. Okay? This simple process, if you can run, should take care of your development need while you are here, and when you start your job. All right. So we just a quick note on reverse engineering. This is when you have not even the source code. You may say, well, forget about that kind of project. I'm not going to that kind of company. Yeah, right now in today's job market, you can say so. But when the time is tough, job is job. Right? You have to basically take any job that pays. In that case, well, even if you don't have source code, you still need to do the job. Then you basically have
that generate the source code based on the machine code.
Basically, you got the machine code. You don't have the source code. If you are going to modify the machine code, it's unlikely it's going to work. So you basically have to deduce the functionality out of the machine code, recreate the source code. Then
Are there tools that do that? Convert from the machine code back to the source code automatically?
there are some tools that work to some extent, but not going to be work in every case. So more likely than not, you still need to code. Okay? This is reverse engineering, and also follow up by something called re-engineering.
And why wouldn't you have the source code?
Good question.
Because unless it's some other company's product and you're stealing it, then you really ought to have the source code.
You ever watch Office Space? If someone pulled a built-in on your source code base.
It happens. Things happens. Things happen. You had a big fight with your partner. You're not doing business together. You don't have access to the old source code. Now you have half of the business. What do? You entered a legal fight with your partner. Now you cannot use, you can only, yes, you can have the same features, but I'm not going to give you the source code. What do? You can say, I don't want the business anymore. Yeah, that's fine. But if you still want to support the same set of customers you inherited, this may happen. This may happen.
Wouldn't that violate the patents though, or whatever?
If you enter a legal settlement, anything would be okay if that's agreed upon in the legal settlement. Yeah, so this could happen. Could happen. I mean, so the yeah. So source code is not guaranteed. That is. So you think that so in my lab we spend a lot of time basically just deal with reverse engineering. It's definitely not a fun job to do, but sometimes you have to do it, right? Hopefully you don't have to do this, but having the skill is useful. All right, that will be all for this lecture. So let's look at our last quiz item. We won't have quiz next week. Remember, next Thursday is going to be our in-class test. Last quiz. Okay, so this is going to be finding all numbers disappear in an array. Let's see what that is about. This is actually a relatively hard question. Oh no, now this one is classified as easy. Apparently more people know how to do this. Okay. All right. Given an array of integer between 1 and n, some element appear twice, other appear once. Find all element that do not appear in the array. Okay, so that's the first part of the question. The second part would be, could you do it without extra space and in basically linear time, right? So essentially, you first need to come up with a solution, then see if you can come up with an optimized solution. I mean, if you go through this linear, I mean, pretty much that's optimized, right? So if you have no extra space and linear time, you know that you are actually optimized. You can't go beyond that. So this is a trick question. There's a trick. If you know the trick, 2 minutes. Don't know the trick, 2 days. So this is the kind of interview question. You see this, I got lucky, or I got stolen, right? So that's why seeing all these questions, looking at all these questions would help. Right? This is not the data structure, basic programming kind of thing that you know you can do it. This is, if you know the trick, really quick. If you don't know the trick, taking forever. I mean, what I'm talking about optimized solution. Not optimized solution is okay. I mean, what we can do is n squared, n times n, right? So we would just go and scan the crap out of this array, right? But that wouldn't cut it. That wouldn't cut it.